Action!
So, Juliet, what do you think about getting married?
Well, Mother, I haven't really thought about it yet.
Well, I was married when I was 14. Your father was quite the gentleman when he courted me.
That sounds ever so romantic. But love is a topic that I have yet to discover. Perhaps I will be like fathering you one day. Action! After!
Juliet!
Yes, Father. I have some wonderful news for you. You're going to be marrying Paris on Thursday.
What?
Aren't you happy?
Of course I'm not happy! You're marrying me to Paris? Of all people? I don't want to get married! We haven't even talked about it. This is so unfair.
Don't you use that tone with me, young lady. This is a great opportunity I have given you. You should be grateful.
I'm anything but grateful.
The previous scene depicts how Juliet was nice and polite to her mother before she met Romeo. She was very proper and would always show respect towards her parents. For example, when her mother asked her what she thought of marriage, Juliet responded, "It is an honor that I dream not of." This is a very polite way of telling her mother that she does not think about getting married. In another scene, Juliet is talking to her mother and tells her, "I'll look to like if looking liking move, but no more deep will I endart mine eye than your consent gives strength to make it fly." She is politely saying that she will only like Paris if she likes her first impression of him. She says this in a very polite way, which shows how she has respect for her parents. She is a very obedient child. But in the following scene, which is after she is married to Romeo, Juliet yells at her father for arranging her marriage with Paris. Her tone is very impolite and rude towards her father. She says, "I will not marry yet, and while I do, I swear it shall be to Romeo, whom you know I hate, rather than Paris." This is more curt response to her father. She is ruder than she would have been before she met Romeo. She no longer has respect for her parents and becomes very ill-mannered towards them. The attitude that she used to have towards her father became bitter and defensive. She is furious with the idea of marrying someone else and being unfaithful to Romeo. In our version of this scene from Romeo and Juliet, we juxtapose Juliet's changing personality throughout the story by using two separate scenes. In the first scene, we show her politeness by giving her an innocent tone and having her respond to her mother's comments with obedience and respect. In the second half of the scene, Juliet yells at her father for arranging her marriage with Paris. She's stomping her feet in anger and refuses to comply with her father's orders.
Action! What is wrong?
Oh, Juliet! Tybalt is dead!
What happened?
That Montague Romeo killed Tybalt!
Oh my goodness! I can't believe that the man I love would kill my dear Tybalt. That evil fiend! How could he?
Shame on Romeo! What a horrible man for committing such an awful crime.
Excuse me? How dare you say that about my husband? Just because I said those careless words doesn't give you permission to repeat them. Poor Romeo. I'm sure there's an explanation for what he did. And I'm sure he feels terrible right now. Shame on you for saying those horrible things about Romeo.
I can't believe that you were defending him. That man murdered your cousin and you were defending him.
He is my husband. I love him. Tybalt's death does sadden me, but I will stand by Romeo. Cut! In the beginning of the scene, Juliet is waiting in her room for the nurse to bring her news. The nurse is melancholy when she tells her that Romeo has killed her cousin Tybalt. Juliet is sad for a brief moment and she says, "Beautiful tyrant, fiend angelical." She says this because although she loves Romeo, he has killed her cousin. The nurse responds to this by saying, "Shame come to Romeo." Juliet immediately yells at the nurse for saying things about Romeo and completely changes her opinion of what Romeo did. Before Juliet met Romeo, she would have been angered that a Montague murdered her cousin. However, after she was married, her love for her husband overcame her hatred at Romeo's deed, and she defended him, even though Tybalt was her cousin. She stands by Romeo and says, "Shall I speak ill of him that killed my cousin? Ah, my poor lord, what tongue shall smooth thy name?" This shows that her love for Romeo is so great that she would defend him despite what he did. Also, it shows that Juliet would not let anyone else insult her husband for whatever reason. In this scene, we depict Juliet's varying personality. She goes from what she would have earlier believed to be right to siding with her husband because she is in love with him. Her loyalty to her family switches and becomes of lesser importance than her loyalty to Romeo.
Before action!
Oh, I wish Rosalind loved me. My life is worthless without her. She's my world, and I love her.
What a wonderful day! Let's enjoy this afternoon and go see a play, Romeo.
No thanks. I just want to sit here alone.
Romeo, you need to get over Rosalind.
How? I love her. I can never get over her.
Action! After! So I'll talk to you later, okay? Okay, bye!
What a wonderful day. Let's enjoy this afternoon and go see a play.
Sure, but where'd all this excitement come from?
From love. I've just met this girl, Juliet. She's the most beautiful maiden in the land.
Is the feeling mutual?
Of course it is.
Oh! I'm glad you finally found true love. What? This scene shows how love can cause emotions to change entirely. In the first scene, when Romeo loves Rosalind, he is very depressed by the fact that she does not share his feelings. He does not smile and just sits outside by himself, wallowing in sadness. He says, "Ay me, sad hours seem long," because he feels as though life hasn't a meaning without Rosalind, and does not wish to talk to anyone while he mourns over the fact that Rosalind does not love him back. But when Romeo and Juliet fall in love with one another, Romeo's whole outlook on life changes. He becomes happier and skips around. He is more pleasant to be around and enjoys life. He hangs out with his friends and spends plenty of time with Juliet. He says, "But come what sorrow can, it cannot countervail the exchange of joy that one short minute gives me in her sight." He says this to Friar Lawrence with a joyous tone. Juliet causes Romeo's personality to become more positive, and also causes him to become a better person, as will be shown in the next scene. In our depiction of the scene, Romeo is sulking and wallowing when Benvolio comes upon him. His sadness over Rosalind is apparent in his glum expression. When he falls in love with Juliet, he is shown more joyful and happy. He skips around, laughs, and seems to enjoy life more now that he has found Juliet.
Action.
Oh, hello, my friend.
What is this friend you speak of? I am not your friend, despicable Montague.
But you are kind, Tybalt.
So you mock me now? Why don't you put your mouth where your sword is?
I would never fight you, brother. Good day to you.
What just happened? Cut! At the beginning of the book, Romeo and his friends do not like the Capulets and would be willing to fight them any day. But once Romeo fell in love with Juliet, fighting a Capulet was the last thing on his mind. He changed his opinion about Juliet's family and were polite to them. He said to Tybalt, "I do protest I never injured thee, but love thee better than thou canst devise, till thou shalt know the reason of my love, and so, good Capulet, which name I tender as dearly as my own, be satisfied." He is telling Tybalt that he loves him and loves the Capulets as much as he loves himself. He is showing respect to Tybalt, not only because he is Juliet's cousin, but also because Romeo's love for Juliet caused him to become a better person. He becomes more polite towards others and is nicer to everyone. For example, when Mercutio and the rest of Romeo's friends are making fun of the nurse, Romeo stays with her and does not get involved with the commotion. Also, when Mercutio and Tybalt begin to fight, Romeo attempts to stop the fighting. He says, "Tybalt, Mercutio, the prince expressively hath forbid this bandying in Verona streets." He is politely trying to stop the fighting without getting involved. Also, when Romeo is going to Juliet's tomb and encounters Paris, Paris is very rude towards Romeo. He simply says, "Good night, gentle youth. Tempt not a desperate man." He tells Paris in the most polite way that he is not in a mood. And he warns Paris not to provoke him. He says this in a calm voice and does not lash out at Paris with his words or his actions. Romeo's love for Juliet overpowers his desire to defeat the Capulets. Even though Tybalt tries to instigate a fight with Romeo, he remains calm and refuses to fight a man that he loves. In the end, Romeo leaves the situation behind without a single rude remark or gesture.
Before!
So, Juliet, when do you think about getting married?
Oh
my God! Juliet!
Ah! Action!
Oh, sorry.
Action!
What is wrong?
Oh, Juliet! Tybalt is dead!
What happened?
That's Montague! Romeo killed Tybalt.
man I love would kill dear Tybalt. That evil fiend! How could he?
Shame on Romeo! What a horrible man for committing such an awful crime.
Excuse me? Action!
Oh, hello, my friend. What is this friend you speak of? I am not your friend, despicable Montague.
But you are, kind Tybalt.
So you mock me now? Why don't you put your mouth where your sword is?
Action!
That's action.
Alright, here's a little song about some lovers. And it goes a little something like this. Romeo and Juliet.